Hello everybody, let's get together. Welcome everybody. How's it going? Yeah? Awesome. Beautiful. Good to see you everybody. Very beautiful. Let's take another small moment here. To see. Awesome, Bea just gave a message. She's joining without camera from work. I'm always not sure if I should appreciate it if people join from work or not, because one hand I freaking love it, of course, that you show up regardless. On the other hand, I feel like everybody have this ultimate freedom and liberty in their life to be able to move work whenever they want, right? So on one hand, I love that you already do what you want. Yeah, and on the other hand, I really hope it's an inspiration to create this independency that you truly deserve. So let's get straight started. Find a comfortable seated position. I also need to snuggle here a little bit in. My cute dog is licking my hand. Little girl, what's up? Yeah, I know. Good. That's the thing, usually they're completely knocked out at this time, but then when I turn on the aircon to cool a little bit down, suddenly I get hyperactive, because I'm not knocked down by the heat. But then I'm also knocked down if I keep the heat on. So now I have hyper air conditioned dogs running around here. Okie dokie, find a comfortable seated position everybody. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath in. And exhale through the mouth. Finding long, deep breathing. And exhale. As you inhale, feel your belly expanding. And exhale, relax your belly. Feel your body becoming heavy. Feel your body sinking into the seat. Become aware of the ground underneath your buttocks. Become aware of the temperature, the density. And the weight of your body. One more deep breath in. Exhale. Take your hands and wrap them, get them very warm. Scoop them over your eyes, absorb that heat. Feel a warmth around your eyes. And then gently start blinking and winking. With open eyes, remove the palms. Beautiful. Welcome everybody. Welcome to everybody joining live. Welcome everybody watching the replay. Welcome everybody listening to the replay. Today, what's up, Linnea? Oh, she's the cutest. I wish you could see her, but always when I lift her up, she's not so cute no more. Because she doesn't like it so much. Linya, you need attention. Yeah. So, I welcome you all. Today we have a very special topic, and so today is an intensive class on kind of like theory content. Usually I really give my best to make the classes always as practical and as applicable as possible. I feel like today is one of the most theoretical classes I taught in a long time. Like the last time is like more than a year ago. Josephina was there in our last, and Birgit was there in our last teacher training that we had. It was an Ayurvedic Yin Yoga teacher training. And in the beginning we had like 2-3 classes that were really dense on theory and kind of like almost heavy, we can say. So it's more than a year ago that I was teaching such a theoretical class. Nevertheless, of course, I'm gonna give my best to make it as applicable and practical as possible. And the reason we do have this class today, because it's like pure magic. That's the thing. So once we're gonna go through this content, it feels like a warning, almost a disclaimer, right? Like attention, some theory about to come. But the real benefit of this knowledge is that this is the absolute principles of Ayurveda. So basically, this is a necessary class for me to give to you in order for you to guide your own life in an holistic, healthful Ayurvedic living. Yeah. So I could just tell you now, okay, this and that dosha, this and that metabolic type, this and this climate needs this and that diet. But I don't want you to be dependent on looking it up. I don't want you to have to learn by heart, like vocabulary, like 100 vegetables and spices that are good for you and the other 500 that are not good for you. I want you to know why in such a condensed and precise way that whatever you try, whichever you look on, whichever experience you have, you will instantly know if it's good for you or not. And the same with your own imbalances, that you don't need to actually read it up. You don't need, I want you to have independence and confidence in your own management of what's good for you and not. So today, a little bit dense, but totally freaking worth it. Really the principles of Ayurveda. Before we dive into that, do you guys have questions for the previous lessons? Because I would like to close today's class without question, just with this knowledge, letting it sit. So much information. So whatever you had to ask about the previous classes or something in general, now is a good space to do so. No? Awesome. Great. Well, then let's straight roll into it. So what we're going to talk about today is, as I said, the principles of Ayurveda. I want you to start with the first one. And we mentioned it in the classes before a little bit, yeah? The first principle of Ayurvedic healing, there's 3 major that we're going to work with today. The first principle of Ayurvedic healing is that Ayurveda is easy and pleasant. Yeah? That means very often Ayurveda is slow. There is no overnight fix, okay? And that's something really beautiful. Ayurveda is not healing instantly and finding a quick fix for something, but it is setting up your life so that disease does not have a chance to arise. Yeah? This is the Ayurvedic way. And it does that in the most pleasant ways, yes? So it's looking and, how should I say that? I got a little bit distracted by your delicious food that I'm seeing here. I see this very amazing European berries. I'm just wow, it's been so long since I had European berries. Oh my gosh, completely got me out of my thought right now. Oh, that's so funny. Okay, so Ayurvedic healing is easy and pleasant, yeah. This also means it is very much, it is very gentle. It is not, okay, now I know what I have to do, and then you do it overnight and you completely stress yourself out. It's taking things really easy and step by step. So if you're on a journey right now to improve your life quality with Ayurveda, make your plan really generous. If you think you can do it in 3 weeks, give yourself 3 months. So you really have slowly the time to take on one thing after the other. It takes 3 weeks to create a physical habit, yeah? So take yourself really time for small steps to integrate them for 3 weeks so that they're part of your physical routine and don't cause you mental stress no more. Because every single change, even changes to the better that we do cause some stress in our system, yeah, and do trigger some stress. But stress is one of the most common causes of disease, so we want to kind of like eliminate stress as much as possible. So the Ayurvedic healing, so to say, is not a goal. It's not like, okay, and then I'm healthy and now I can keep rolling with my life as it is. The path towards health is the healing itself. Yeah. So it happens every day. And as soon as the way how you use the medicine, and with medicine I really mean something like a habit, a kind of exercise, a kind of like how you design your day, how you start your day, how you end your day, but also a certain ingredient on your plate, yes? That this kind of medicine is only a true medicine if it feels pleasurable to you. Yeah? There's no single moment in the Ayurvedic path of healing where like, okay, ice it through, I just get it done, over with, and then I'm done, right? This is not working out. So every single moment has to be an experience of pleasure and of joy to be truly effective and efficient. Good. Then the second principle of Ayurveda is that it balances with the opposites. So the goal of Ayurveda is to find absolute harmony. And as long as we are in absolute harmony within our body, mind, and our environment, we are healthy, because everything is frequency. When things are in harmony, it sounds beautiful, you're in wonderful, beautiful piece of music, yeah? But as soon as it's in disharmony, things start to not resonate with each other and sound not nice. They're not easeful no more, they're not pleasant no more. So we're leaving the state of Ayurveda, so we're leaving the state of health. Yeah. So, and we do this, and that's the interesting thing, we find this balance by balancing with the opposites. That means if, as in general, it's easy and pleasant, means we avoid extremes, right? Extremes are never easy, extremes are never pleasant. Extremes are always agitating. And so we balance with the opposite, means if something comes into an extreme, any kind of tendency, and there are individuals and tendencies. Everybody has individual tendencies, and what might be natural for one person might be very unnatural and very unpleasant for another person. You have to say that very clearly. Yeah? Some personalities are more slow, are more dull, and that's perfectly fine for them. That's how they're made. Whereas for somebody else, this could be really unhealthy. This might feel uncomfortable for them. This slowness and steadiness might feel like lethargy, for example, might feel unhealthy. Yes. So let's mute everybody here. Good. So that being said, that everybody expresses his own healthfulness in a very individual way, and these tendencies are balanced through the opposites. So let's say, though for somebody it is very natural and healthy to have a certain kind of heaviness, dullness in their being, if it gets into excess, so the person is not in pleasure, not in ease no more with this, it becomes a hindrance instead of a natural talent for the person, we need to add the opposite in order to create balance. That means, for example, with this heaviness, we would need to add lightness into the life of this person. And this lightness could come in all different ways. It could be with more light food. Yeah, looking where's the person doing eating very heavy foods. Where can I avoid that and replace it with more light foods? It could be more through light intellectuality. Instead of when maybe this person is constantly reading very heavy, very dense material, only like heavy books for studying, for example. That might be, maybe you just want to read a magazine for a moment. Maybe you want to have a very light chit chat about like which autumn fashion to wear this year, you know, like very light topics. These are all different ways, light conversations. Maybe this person wants to do more light sport, maybe some skipping or something, or maybe some light jogging, things like this, yeah. Some light movement, something like a gentle Pilates class, for example, yeah? Maybe a gentle swim sports class or something. These are all different ways how we could introduce this lightness then into the life of the person, yeah. And this is how the Ayurvedic medicine of balancing with the opposites work. So we look what's in the natural tendency of the person. As long as the person is in ease and its natural tendency, everything is all right. As soon as the state of ease is left and a certain tendency is taking overhand, creating discomfort, we need to avoid that tendency in any aspect of life and add of the opposite until ease and balance is restored. And then we keep observing. So we don't then add lightness into the life of the person until this person completely feels spaced out, yeah? We're not doing that. We want to keep that person in their natural tendency of stability, a certain amount of happiness, if this is natural to the person, but in the frame of easefulness. So we add the lightness until the person feels amazing in themselves again. They feel balanced again. And then we balance it out again. And then we remove a little bit of lightness, and then we find the gentle degree that's working well, you know, like on this, it's a balancing act all the time of moderation, lightness, moderation, heaviness, yeah? And then the person will more and more come into the center and then maintain the center. And the more we practice this, the more sensitive we also become for that. One point, the person will feel, oh, just now eating this very heavy food, just one scoop of sauce too much, for example, on the potatoes. So already like, makes me feel heavy, I have troubles focusing, I feel really dull. Or just like, okay, 3 days of just salads, I'm spaced out. The person will start to feel it and will learn slowly by doing what's the right way of medicine for them, yeah? Is this clear for you guys? Like, does this explanation make sense for you? Awesome. And I feel like it's kind of like really logical. Sometimes I feel like so weird, even like setting things up to tell this to people, right? Because it's something so actually obvious, you know? Like, okay, you feel heavy, stop doing heavy stuff, you know, and you will stop feeling heavy. But poorly, we're kind of like really away from how to balance ourselves. And of course, life can be a little bit more complex, right? Like something like, I don't know how I feel like. Maybe I feel hot and cold at the same time. And especially as women, our emotions and our perception of feelings can vary very quickly and very fast, yeah? And so there's like a little bit more complexity to it. And this is exactly what I want to dive in now today with you guys. So in this balancing, that's the exact topic of today. In this balancing, there is 10 pairs in the universe, and that's it. There's 10 major pairs in the universe, and these major pairs of attributes determine the qualities of life, yeah? So we have like heavy and light. This is one pair, and of those we have 10. And anything that is in life has some of these qualities present in itself, yeah? So anything in existence, you could boil down to these 10 qualities, to these 10 pairs. So 20 qualities, 10 pairs. Yeah. And I have a screen share for you guys. Ta-da! Here it is. Can you see it? Beautiful. These qualities are called the 20 Gunas. Let me quickly move that. Yes, so these 20 qualities are called the 20 Gunas. And I would like to go with you through these pairs now. Yeah? So we have 10 pairs, each one 2 qualities. Good. Are you guys with me? Awesome. So the first pair that we have is dry and oily. Could also say moist, but I feel like oily is very good because how is moisture expressing in our body? And it's moist is mostly expressed through oiliness, right? When we feel like really moist, it's through oiliness. So dry and oily, soft and hard, sharp and dull, subtle and dense, clear and cloudy, mobile and stable. Okay, 1 second. Okay. solid and liquid, hot and cold, heavy, light, rough and smooth. Sorry. So we have the 20 gunas: dry, oily, soft, hard, sharp, dull, clear, cloudy, mobile, stable, solid, liquid, hot, cold, heavy, light, rough and smooth. Yeah. I would like to go through them with you all together, and I would like to make one round where we go through physical, yeah, and then one round where we go through mental expressions of that. And I want you guys to come up with something, yeah? So you're gonna go through row by row, each one, and let's say we start with Ala. Ala gives one example how dryness is manifesting in the physical body, and then Josephine will give an example how oily is manifesting in the physical body. Then Daniela would be with soft, yes. Then I don't know if Birgit can speak or if Sina can speak. And then we just keep going with us, okay? So then Daniela, then I would give an example of how hardness is manifesting in the body, and then we keep going again, okay? And then after this, we do a round of like how it's expressing in the mental body. And then after that, we're gonna go through how and find one medicine, like lifestyle medicine, that also has this attribute. Does it make sense for you guys? Awesome. So we do in the same order as I just said. We start with Ala, then Josephine, then Daniela, and then me. Okie dokie. Let's get started. Ala, how is dryness manifesting in the physical body?
I guess.
For example, I mean, there's many ways how it's manifesting. One example is enough.
Yeah. So when I was a kid, maybe I used to write 2 to 3 times exams because of my dryness, because it was like cracking. My skin is cracking and it's bloody, something like this. I can never forget it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So cracking skin, absolutely.
Yes.
So the skin is a very good example for dryness, yeah? Also hair can be dry, the nails can be dry, joints can be dry, right? And then of course organs can be dry if we're dehydrated. Beautiful, thank you. Josephine, oily.
So I guess it's the opposite here then, that the hair, skin, it creates oil, you get oily instead of dry and cracky.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, perfect. Okay, Daniela.
So soft, I think also skin, joints, muscles can be soft. For example, after stretching, I feel like mostly soft.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful example, very beautiful example. Awesome. Then hard. In the physical body, hard, definitely, like as you say, the muscles can be very hard and they're very tense. And I feel also like, for example, the stool can be very hard, right? And our nails can also be hard. Awesome. Ala, sharp. What in the physical body can be sharp?
What do you mean exactly with sharp? Sharp and dull? Sharp
Sharp in the sense of like, let's look at dull. The opposite of it is dull, yeah? So dull is like similar to like foggy, whereas a sharp is like something like a little bit like clear in a sense it can cut through very well, right?
Mm-hmm. I feel always after doing yoga, a clearer mind.
Exactly. So the mind can be very clear. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mind can be very sharp. Yes. Let's think a little bit how the physical body can also be sharp. It's a tricky one, I admit.
The physical body.
Does somebody else have an idea?
Yeah. Well, can you maybe? I'm very sick.
Yes, it's alright.
It's not really sharp and not clear.
Yes. So you feel dull. Interesting. For example,
yes. it's cold and I hate cold weather, and I'm very dull in mind now. So, so I can say I'm very sharp when it comes to children. So when my physical body is sharper or clearer or happier when I'm dancing with children or when I'm with my child.
Interesting. But this is not the sharp you're talking about. So there's also later. Can you hold the camera still? It makes a lot of noise. There's also clear, you know, and so sharp and clear are a little bit different. They are a little bit different, and dull and cloudy are also a little bit different here. Yeah? And I'm really looking now for like how the physical body can show in its sharpness, right? So, and it's important to really separate here for us to be able, if something like this occurs and brings us unease, that we are able to pick the correct antidote, to pick the correct opposite for us to bring more balance into that. Yeah. So sharpness in the body, for example, and I clarify a little bit now on the difference also between sharp and clear for you guys. Yeah. So clear, for example, is the eyes. The eyes can be very clear. Then, for example, your urine can be very clear. Your saliva can be very clear. Your blood can be clear. Yeah. Also, your menstrual blood can be very clear. Whereas it can be also cloudy in the sense of it's like, yeah, it's cloudy, it's foggy a little bit, yeah. With all the examples I gave, your eyes, they can be a little cloudy. That you cannot see clear from inside your eyes, but also when you look into the eyes, they're not very clear, they're a little bit cloudy. Same with the urine, the same with your blood or menstrual blood. They can be cloudy with like clots, or when you have it in a jar, you cannot look through, yeah. You cannot clearly look through. Now, sharp and dull I feel also is a little bit harder to say. Sharp, for example, can be how your sweat smells or tastes. Yeah, this can be very sharp. Yeah, it can be like a sharp, penetrating smell. Yeah, whereas then the opposite would be with dull. When, for example, the sweat, when it smells sharp, then you instantly smell it like, oof, okay, this is like a very. I feel like especially men have that. Some men, they come into a room and you instantly smell them. And you are aware of how much you can smell them. Yeah, and now without positive or negative. Can be both ways. Yeah, you can perceive it in both ways. But it's a very sharp, instant effect from that. Yeah, and dull is more like, it's just not so persuasive. It's way more like, it's not so easy to experience in that sense. Yeah. Sharp can also be how the body, for example, is moving. Yeah. So, for example, martial arts. In martial arts, you learn to move your body in a sharp way, similar to precise. Yeah. Also, very well defined body is sharp in that sense. So well-trained, precise muscular structures have sharpness to them. Whereas the dullness then is when your body is rather kind of like clumsy, you often edge on here and there, you have troubles like being precise in your actions, then the body shows in a more dull way. Yes? Sharpness can also show with expression, with facial expressions. Yeah, like a dull facial expression is when you can hardly say what's going on the mind of the person, versus a sharp facial expression is somebody who's an open book. You can instantly see what's going on in that person's mind, right? Through the facial expression.
Can we say also about the skin? Or the skin is more clear than sharp?
Clear and sharp, we need to really distinguish between clear and sharp. The skin can be clear, yeah, I don't think the skin can be sharp.
Okay.
It is a little different. Something like when you look through glass can be sharp and clear, right? When I break it, it's also sharp. It's very penetrating when something is sharp. It can pierce through, so to say, when something is sharp. So also a look somebody can give to you can be very sharp. When you have the feeling this person is looking down to the deepest layers of your soul. Yeah, that's also a very sharp way.
Could you also say that your body reacts sharply, for example, when you're like angry or when you have to stand up for yourself, that you
Yes.
like have a really sharp position and like everything is like flexed and you're super tense? Is it also this meaning of sharp?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
So there's a certain alertness also to it, right? And kind of like ready. The body is ready for action. Yeah. Of course, a few of these aspects come together. As I said, tense, so the muscles might get hard. But usually, when you get sharp through anger, the muscles don't necessarily get hard. They just get activated, right? They're ready for action. Yeah. So definitely, this is also a way how sharpness is expressing. So, for example, now to instantly make it practical, if somebody would have anger issues, very explosive nature, there's a lot of sharpness in this person active. And then we might want to add more dullness into the life. And if you have troubles like you can later on then Google synonyms for these words to make it more precise and more clear for you what all falls into that category. Yeah. Beautiful. Very good. Now the next one is subtle and dense. Yeah. And one more thing, about dull. For example, also a body is dull when it's not really defined. Yeah. There's like, you don't really know where's the waist, where's the hip, there's no clear definition where one flows into the next one. You cannot distinguish between a biceps and a triceps, things like this, yeah? It's like, this is also dullness. And here we can see it very nicely. It's different to cloudy. You don't say the body is cloudy when the body has a lack of definition. That's dullness, when there's a lack of definition happening. Dull can also be the hair, when the hair is just like this. We call it stray dog blonde in German. Yeah, like my hair, for example, we always call it stray dog blonde, though we don't have stray dogs in Germany. So this is also kind of like a dullness, to the nature. We have something in the chat here. Let's check if it's a question. Eyes can be sharp, eyes can be clear also. And yes, eyes can be dull and eyes can be cloudy. And that's a tricky one where we then need to very clearly distinguish. The same with the tongue. But the eyes and the tongue are good ways to really analyze the depth of the physical health of a person. But there we also need to really learn to distinguish between sharp and clear, because they belong to different elemental attributes. Yeah. So you don't want now to say, oh, my eyes are clear, but they're actually sharp, and then add cloudy instead of dull to the person, like in a very refined way. Yeah. For regular, just like lifestyle adaptation, perfectly fine. It's not so important to distinguish. When we then go really into medical treatment and things, then the distinguishing is very important. Good. The next one, subtle versus dense. Subtle versus dense. Do you have ideas how this can express? So, subtle versus dense. So dense can be, for example, Farmer strength. Farmer strength is very dense. People who do not look very strong, but bring in incredible strength with them. Very often very skinny people, but not necessarily light people. Yeah? And so-called farmer strength. This is something that brings density, denseness to it. It's like small, light people that can move and bowl, you know. Or in Thailand, that's a small, light trainers that can absorb incredible kicks from 2-meter people, you know, like easily. This is density, denseness. The teeth are also dense. Yeah. Hair can be dense, whereas that hair can also be subtle. When there's very little hair, then it's subtle. Yeah. Also, especially body hair when we look. You can have very dense body hair, but you can also have very subtle body hair. Very light, fine, kind of like baby feeling, blondish hair, just a little bit. It's very subtle hair. Whereas it's like, I'm exaggerating now, arm hair where your hand gets stuck, yeah? When you put it through, that's dense. I'm exaggerating here. Okay. Clear versus cloudy, we had an example with the eyes, with several body liquids especially, that it can be clear versus can be cloudy. And you see, not everything possesses all of these 20 aspects. Some things don't have that. Let's say, for example, my eyes. I cannot really say that my eyes are hot or cold or heavy or light. You cannot say that. That's not a quality given to the eyes, right? But the eyes could be mobile. They could be dry. They could be sharp, they could be clear, right? So not everything is given to every aspect, yeah, of our physical body. Yeah. Mobile, something that's inherently mobile, is definitely our heart. Our diaphragm is mobile, luckily. Yeah. A lot of the vital organs that take care of our physical sustenance, they're very mobile. Our bones are very stable. If you don't move the bones won't move by themselves. Yeah. They're stable. Neurons are very mobile also. Teeth are stable. Then also stable when somebody's stiff is stable. When somebody's flexible, somebody's mobile.
Can I say this also about character?
Yeah, but we're not there yet. We're now going into the physical part, but then definitely yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. Also, character can be sharp, right? Character can also be soft. Character can also be heavy and light. Itching is very mobile. It's a mobile tendency. Yeah. Restless leg syndrome is a mobile tendency. Lethargy, excessive laziness, is a lot of stability. solid versus liquid in the body. Solid also the teeth, the bones, the muscles. Liquid, our blood, our plasma, our saliva, our mucus. Also the way how somebody's moving. Some people are able to move in a very liquid way, right? When it's like the joints are melting, you know, like when there's such a deep body opening and coordination, that motions seem to be liquid. It's not one leg after the other is moving. It's like the whole organism is moving and is deeply connected. Yeah? It's also an expression of that. Then hot and cold. It's like, I feel like this is a little bit obvious in the physical body. One is like, we heat up, start sweating. Sweating is a side effect, but sweating is not the hot heat per se, yeah? But our muscles can get hot, yeah? Our muscles can also get very cold. For our digestion, we need heat. For good sleep and regeneration, we need coolness, we need cold. Our blood is hot, excuse me. Our teeth are not really, they're kind of like cold rather, they don't have their own temperature. Then we have heavy and we have light. The hair is light, right? Bones are heavy. Fat is heavy. Muscles are even heavier. Of course, this can also be feeling how a person is feeling. Also, when we are sick, very often the body automatically makes you feel heavy, because this will bring the rest into the body that is needed to heal. Yeah? So sometimes the body creates the opposite already for you to have it easier to heal. Yes. When we have a cold, we suddenly get fever, because the body is balancing that cold in our body. Then rough and smooth. The skin can be rough or smooth, right?
Hair.
Mm-hmm.
Also.
Hair, exactly, can be rough and smooth. Bones and joints are rough. It's nothing smooth, it's nothing charming to have like an elbow rub over your body. But the skin per se can be smooth, you know, the ligaments are smooth. And then these things also translate in different diseases, of course. Let's say a cough. A cough can feel really rough and it can feel really smooth. The smooth cough is that also has mucus, yeah? Whereas the rough cough feels very dry also, right? And it's like really scratching and hurting inside. Yeah? Your pulse can be very rough and it can be very smooth. Your resting pulse usually is rather smooth, versus strong when you like doing cardio exercise. Your pulse can be very rough, yeah, very strong. Good. Anyways, like this is content I invite you to really reflect on deeper, and maybe pin it somewhere, put it on your phone. Whenever you experience something in your body or in life, just pull up that sheet for a moment, that image, and compare for a moment, like, what is it? What is it that I'm experiencing right now? Just to, and just to be able to learn to distinguish, yeah? Not necessarily with the urge to want to fix. First, just with the curiosity to know, to be able to learn to categorize different experiences, what they are, right? In which category they fall, just for you to learn. When you have like a cold, when you have some little complaints, look which all attributes do they have, yeah? So when somebody comes to me, oh, I have this flu, I have this cold, I have this and that, I ask, is it hot, is it cold? Yeah. Is it solid, is it liquid? Do you feel heavy, do you feel light? Does it come rough or smooth? Do you feel sharp or do you feel dull, right? Like sharp can also be a pain. A sharp pain in your body versus a dull pain in your body. Very different experience, very different characteristic than what is needed. Yeah. We'll come to that, then what a lifestyle this also means.
I just got one question. Can you also allocate the 20 Gunas to like yin and yang, or is it something? Okay.
Definitely.
That just came to my mind, so yeah.
Definitely. They're now not in the order of yin and yang. I could rearrange that actually. That's very, very smart. Yeah, I could rearrange that. But they're not arranged in that way right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. And also each guna belongs to an element. Dry belongs to air. Oily belongs to earth and water. Yeah. For example, sharp belongs to fire. Dull belongs to water. Yeah. Just as an example. I with intention did not put this onto this information because I want to digest that for a moment, yeah. And it's now not important yet. I really invite you to use that, and then next week just observe a little bit in your life where you can see these different attributes coming up. And next, in 2 weeks when we meet again, then we go deep into diet, how to read your needs of your body, of your life, and how to then find it in the diet. And there we're gonna also add the elements to that knowledge. For the beginning, no need for the elements, just connect it to whatever happens in your life, whatever's going on in your life. Yeah. And so hot, cold. Hot is fire, cold is air and water also, yeah. Heavy is earth, light is air. Yeah. Beautiful. Now, let's go into the mental aspects. Yeah? Into the mental aspects. How this is showing off in the mental world of the individual. So, what can you see? Dry versus oily. How could this express in a mental attitude or emotional attitude? And we use it very often also in our language. Let me give you an example here. Somebody has a dry sense of humor, right? Or like, this person's kind of, we don't say oily, but something like, this person's a little bit slimy. Very similar to oily. And the interesting thing is, I observed that for a while, and I feel like especially people who act a little bit slimy, for some weird reason, they so often have oiled hair. It's like freaking weird. Really observe that. Like really these weird, slimy, kind of like wanting to get into the situation kind of people, they super often have oiled hair. Not by intention, I guess. Like, I don't think they're aware of that. But like, yeah, very often oiled hair. Super weird. Yeah. So we have a dry sense of humor, for example, even very oily sense of humor. But oily can also be not oily sense of humor, just like an oily way of like going into situations. But it can also be very beneficial. When it comes into luring people kind of into a slimy way, then it's like overhand. We need to add a little bit more dryness here, yeah? But in a beneficial way, it's like oily finds its way easily through. Similar to liquid, yeah? It's like well oiled, you kind of like the well-oiled wheel doesn't squeak, right? Then it's like you easily go along with life and roll along with life also. Yeah. Then soft and hard, of course, our temper. How do we react to people? There's like a soft grandma and then there's the hard grandma. Yeah? So this is a good example. You know? Soft can be very caring, nurturing, forgiving, yeah? And hard is like one chance, last chance, right? And no forgiving, and now the judgment has been given. Yeah? So it's a soft and a hard aspect to the mentality, and especially also your own self-talk, how we go with that. Then with the sharp and dull, also the mind can be very sharp, easy in distinguishing. When you look at sharpness, a knife can be sharp, right? So the ability to cut things apart on a mental, emotional level. This is the ability to discern between A and B, what is beneficial, what is not beneficial. Yeah? To really be clear with like, that's bullshit, no, that's good actually. That's a good, sharp quality to have. Whereas when it's overly sharp, we even say this person has a sharp tongue, right? Then that takes overhand. So sharpness can be very, especially on a mental level, we do want more sharpness than dullness. That's for sure. But when it gets too much, then we gotta step back a little bit. Like too much sharpness is then quickly going into judgment, gossiping, bad speech, you know? Does it make sense for you guys? And so it's too sharp, and so there's when somebody has a too sharp mind, it's similar to in too hard mind, right? When it's also to a very rough mind, and it's just like always like a nasty little comment fired in the back. Yeah. And then dull is like very easy, very simple minded, and here I really invite you to let go of the positive and negative thinking. Yes, a certain amount of sharpness in the mind is super invited and very beneficial, but also a certain amount of dullness. Yeah? And dullness not the same as cloudy. Dull not as the opposite of clear, but dull in the way of like simple-minded, being able to see the simplicity, not having to dissect everything in this very sharp way, but being able to see the things as they come and accept them as they come and see the goodness around them, right? This is also a way how the sharpness can take overhand when people need to dissect everything like a million times and have trouble just accepting things as they are, kind of thing. So there then dullness can be very welcome into the mind. Dullness in a sense of like similar to softness, yeah? Dullness in a sort of taking off the edges a little bit, letting things be the way they are. Yeah? That's a positive dullness. Whereas the negative dullness is then when somebody is like, yeah, whatever, you know, and can't even form two thoughts in a row. Yeah? It's just like, dull, sounds like a good idea, let's go for it, right? Without any further second thought. That's in too much dullness. Then emotions also can be very dull, right? But it can feel also very sharp, like anger, rage, very sharp emotions. Sadness, grief, very dull emotions often. Then subtle and dense. Yeah. I feel like a good example for density in a mental, emotional realm is social media. Like social media is so dense. It's actually not a mental thing, right? Like, but it's mental. We consume it on a mental level. Is so dense. Many informations are so dense how we receive them. Also, what I'm giving you right now is dense information. Yeah, we're having dense thought processes now. We're really putting a big spectrum of knowing into a small container right now, press it in, and then from there we will expand. And now the beautiful thing is later on, once you went through this dense process right now, the more subtle information will unveil. Things will become more subtle, and subtleness then is when the dots start to connect. The dots are dense, and it's connection of the dots, that's the subtle way. Also the knowing we receive through intuition, that's subtle. Thoughts are also subtle, versus words are dense. And I was just sharing with Sina also that I'm working super hard on a podcast for you guys, and the podcast is ready. Just my new logo and branding is not ready, so I'm just waiting for that. So if I bring it out, like everything is a little bit consistent and stuff, and then I'm really excited to share more stuff with you guys on Spotify and Apple Music and things. So things are flowing. Yeah, things are flowing in a positive way. I'm really happy about that. Good. Let's get back here. So we were just chatting about subtle and sharp and dull, right? And then subtle and dense, we also had dense information versus subtle information. So I feel like dense information is often what we really like have to learn, whereas the subtle information is that information that is just revealed to us, yeah, in silence, revealed to us. Also silence is something subtle, versus noise is something dense, for example. Mm-hmm. Good example here for subtle and dense, also for mental emotional experiences, is that the experience of naturally induced meditation is very subtle, and the experience of a naturally induced altered state of consciousness is very subtle, versus the experience through chemically induced altered states of consciousness through substances is very dense. Yeah, it's very, very dense. So when we experience, for example, an awakening moment, we can have that several times per life. It's not like, oh, I'm awakened, now the lamp is on forever. Like, there's many lamps we can turn on inside. Subtle is that comes through meditation and through dedicated practice, and then through just like tripping and stuff. This is a way more and dense form of awakening and receiving the information. Then clear versus cloudy. Clear mind, cloudy, foggy mind, obviously. Clear our insight into our emotions, very kind of like cloudy, foggy perception of our emotions. So I feel like the clear, cloudy is, especially when it comes to the mind, the most present one. Like we all want a clear mind. We all want a clear mind. But if somebody is like super airy and spacey, a little bit of cloudiness would be good. Like one example is, I have one friend and it's more an acquaintance than a friend, but we amicably to each other. And so he's super turned on in his mind, and his mind is very clear in the sense of like, he sees all the freaking dots being connected all the time. It's incredible. Like whatever you tell him, he can see like 10 layers. What is there to the things that you're telling him? Like you can't just tell him, oh, today at work I was annoyed. He sees like 20, 30 layers to that situation, which one hand is really beautiful. There's a lot of clarity, a lot of brilliance in the mind. On the other hand, it's so intense for him through this clarity. The amount of information he's receiving becomes very dense. Though it is per se subtle information, but it is so dense because he cannot distinguish. He's lacking the sharpness, to distinguish what to focus on right now. And then he's like really overwhelmed, and this is why he doesn't get anything in life done. He has such a clear, brilliant mind, but it's too much for him to ground into this reality here. So for him, a little bit cloudiness, a little bit grounding, coming down would be helpful. And here an interesting way, that's it. I will come to the other interesting way later on then. We have a question here, 1 second. Clear and cloudy thoughts, exactly. Thoughts can be clear, thoughts can be cloudy, absolutely. Mobile versus stable. The mobile mind is the monkey mind. It's hopping here and there all the freaking time and cannot sit, cannot hold still. The stable mind is that mind that is able to focus. But if the mind is too stable, it becomes rigid and doesn't leave its own perspective at all. Then you're pointed, fixed on one opinion, and that's it, on one point of view, and that's it. So there, then a little bit more mobility could be good. So again, the balance is needed. You want to have a mobile mind, in order to remain flexible with your processes of thoughts, but you also want to have a certain amount of stability to be able to focus. Yes. The mood absolutely can be very mobile and very stable. Yes. Then we have a solid mind, solid and liquid. Yeah. Liquid is like when somebody finds quickly solutions, very adaptable, easy to adapt. Also from the personality, like liquidity expresses with people who get along with everybody quickly. They enter a room, they can instantly have a conversation, they can figure out information about people also really quickly. This is liquidity, because liquidity, also like water, adapts to the shape, right? In whichever vessel you give the water takes on that shape. Yeah. It is like liquidity, adaptability, quick adaptability, very solution oriented also. Whereas a solid is similar to stable, like, but in a different way. Like stable is more, you're stuck on your point of view in an extreme when it's unbalanced. You're just stuck on a point of view. Whereas with solid is, there is like really grounding and foundation behind. A solid mind does not hold a single belief that is not grounded in strong experience, real life tested. This is a solid mind. Yeah. Whereas a stable mind is like, I believed it, I don't know why I believed it, I don't know if there's reasoning behind it, but I believe it, and there I just stay. You can bring me a million reasons that are really smart and intelligent, but I stay with that. That's a hyper stable mind. Whereas it's a solid mind, it has really clear facts why it is staying on that belief right now. Does it make sense to you guys? Awesome. Then, and that's a downside of liquidity in the mind, in the emotions. Like also people who are highly empathic, but suffer from that. They have too much liquidity. They could use more some solidity in their inner being, yeah, because this liquidity makes them adapt so quickly. And so very empathic people often have that. They see a sad person and suddenly they're sad, yeah. And this is also the difference between being empathic for somebody or I need to check this, or compassion, no wait, in German it's kind of like more clear. It's a difference between Beileid and Mitleid. Yeah, so the one thing is you suffer with that person. The other way is like, let's say, I give you a real life example, it's always easier for me. Yesterday I had a conversation with a friend and she has quite some stress in her life right now. And then there was a moment where I just asked her, how do you feel? And I could feel her tears bubbling up already in her belly. And then in a moment I could feel my tears bubbling up. They started rolling on her. Yeah, and so here I was liquid, but not too much. I was in a balance. Because one hand, my emotional nature instantly took on the shape of her emotional nature. I was able to feel her pain in that moment, but I did not suffer from that. This then would be too much liquidity. Like we released the emotions together, we talked about it, we both cried for a moment, I gave her a hug, and then we kept on with our life. Yeah. This is because I have also enough solidity in my own inner emotional and mental regulation. Whereas if it would be too liquid, lacking this solidity, I would then after that would have felt sad. And at the end, my inner being would have created reasons why I feel sad. Yeah. And then we all know these people. You tell them something sad and then they're sad, and also, yeah, and this problem I have in my life and that problem and this makes me very sad and that makes me very sad. But I'm like, I just want to share something with you, like, you know, like there's suddenly this back dumping happening in that kind of way. That's in too much liquidity. So a certain amount of liquidity allows you to deep empathy, whereas this excessive liquidity leads to self-pity instead of empathy. I hope this also makes sense to you guys. Whenever something doesn't make sense, raise your hand, type something into a chat, pop onto camera, yeah? Beautiful. Hot, cold, mental, emotional. We say, wow, this person's ice cold, right? No forgiving, no emotion, blank, porcelain, ceramic, facade, and that's it. Yeah, cold. very absence of emotion. Yeah? Also ice cold thoughts, like barely any empathy happening there. Yeah, this killer mindset. Yeah, if we could say so, is coldness. Whereas it's hot or warmth. Hot doesn't need to be burning. That would be anger and rage. But warmth, empathy, feeling well. Like being able to be gentle and kind, giving a good hug, things like this. Yeah. Also, grandmas again can be very warming, yeah? Can have a positive heat within them. Or motherly love is something warm, yeah? And also we need both. When you let's say you have a certain job to do, yeah, you can't always just have warmth for everybody. Sometimes you just need to be logical and straight, right? And fulfill your duties. Whereas sometimes warmth is needed also to bring the empathy across to them, to give nurturing emotions over them. Okay. 1 second. Okay. And then we have heavy and light. Yeah. We have heavy and light. So heavy is heavy-hearted, holding on to emotions, depression, lethargy, melancholy. These are all very heavy things. Yeah. Whereas this lightness is okay, whatever, I'm over it, and just moving on, not taking things serious, taking things lightly. Yeah. And you also see lightness, but lightness can also be people with troubles for healthy attachment. Complete avoidance typology. There's too much lightness happening, yeah? But people who can never forgive, there's too much heaviness, yeah? There's too much heaviness given, right? So, and also you can see where are these things positive and where can they be in a negative way. So positive lightness is when people can quite easily forgive. Yeah, not that people, and too much lightness is then when people let everything be done with them because they just take it lightly. They don't even let it in any kind of level, right? It's just mingling on the surface. Also not good. There's strong dissociation behind it. Or lightness in the sense of inability for healthy attachment, versus unhealthy heaviness is never forgiving, but also strong clinging, right? Controlling by keeping the other person down, yeah, that's in strong heaviness. Depression also can lead to heaviness, so we need to introduce some lightness into the life. And then we have rough and smooth. Yeah, a person can be rough, just saying the words out straight without considering ever how this might come across with the other person. Yeah, and not in this sharp way. Yeah. Not in a sharp way. Somebody gives gossip or bad speech about somebody. Rough is really it can be meant well, but it's going across in a very negative way. You know what I mean? That can be rough. I feel also grandmas kind of have that, yeah. But also, yeah. For example, the sharpness is really when you make this snappy comment about somebody. It was clear that this woman is wearing this length of skirt, right? Whereas rough is just I don't know. Rough would be here in Thailand. It's a lot. They have a very different way of giving compliments, which are natural for them and seem to us from the West very rough. So, for example, here I once received a rough compliment. It was very funny because she meant it as a charming, warm compliment. And so her rough compliment was she saw me in the first time in a year or something, and I gained a little bit of weight there. And she was just wow, Shashi, so good to see you. You become so fat. Look at you. Sexy. I'm what the hell is going on? This, for us Europeans, is very rough. For her, it was warm. Yeah, for her it was just warm and clear. Yeah, but it's something else, and it's a difference. This is rough. Yeah, just this culture here allows more roughness in this kind of sense. Yeah, they also just say oh, you have a big nose, and that's it. whereas it's like a no-go in the West, right? To say that. I like this a little bit. You can be more direct, but it can come across a little bit rough. But it's different to the sharp. The sharp would be, look at her, of course she's getting fat with all the donuts she's eating, right? This would be sharp, too sharp, yeah? And the rough is just like, oh, you get fat, but looks good on you. Not worrying which other connotation and further emotional experience this person could have about that, right? And so this is kind of like rough. Or somebody who's just like old men that mumble in their beard very often are rather rough, right? You're like, did you like it? And it's like, like, okay, you could also say like, yes, thank you, I liked it, right? And it's like, that's also kind of like rough. Whereas it's smooth is then the opposite. It's like considerate, similar to liquid, but still different. Smooth then is like, to take in consideration how to place the words in the best way that it's really creating the desired effect with the other person. And I'm not talking about manipulation, but like something like a compliment. Like we're thinking, okay, I know this person puts a lot of value onto, let's say, her skincare. And then like really like, wow, your glowing skin gives you an even deeper level of beauty, right? Or expressing your beauty very, very naturally and nice. And it's done a smooth way, yeah. Whereas it's saying like, oh, I'm happy for you, you got rid of your acne. That's the rough way. The smooth way then like, oh, your skin glow is reflecting your personality so well, no? This is the smooth way. Whereas this too smooth is then almost like people pleasing, right? Like people who are not able to speak up for their own truth. This is too smooth. Who stay too gentle all the time. Yeah? You have troubles standing straight for their own truth. Or like leaning in very often. Versus they don't want to lean in, yeah? That's too smooth. Like when the person who is at workplace and every Friday afternoon staying over time because the boss is asking to. This is too smooth. The person has an inhibition of being rough, because a no is often experienced very roughly. Boundaries can be experienced very rough, or boundaries in general are more on the rough side. We can put efforts expressing them smoothly, but something that doesn't work out. Sometimes we need to be rough in order to set our rough, straight boundary through, right? And so then the person like who is always staying Friday and Saturday for longer at work, they are too smooth. They would need more roughness introduced into their life. Yeah? Okie dokie, guys. Oy. Awesome. So as a little time for reflection, I would like now, that's enough information to process for 2 weeks. I'm gonna send you this image, put it onto your phone, maybe even as a screensaver behind the clock. And for the next 2 weeks, early observe whatever happens, a little bit how you feel, what's going on in your life, but maybe also the things that you eat. Hey, maybe different activities that you do. Check to which attribute is reflected in them. Yeah? To find now in slow, intuitive way into experiencing them. And then in 2 weeks, we're gonna chat really about like how we can then identify them in different lifestyle aspects and different diet aspects and so forth there. In sports also and things. So now we first learn how to identify things, and then we learn to choose the right things to balance whatever we identified. Yeah? So first knowing, then comes action. Next time we'll work on the action. Today on the knowing, just on the knowing. Good. Do we have last questions?
Like in the beginning, you said there were 3 principles. I think I missed the last one. What was the last principle?
I said a mistake there actually. It's good that you asked. There's 2 principles. It's the ease and the pleasure, and then balancing with the opposites. That's it.
Oh.
But it was one mind ahead of like, okay, we balance with the opposites, and then I teach you the opposites. But it's not the 3rd principle. It's part of the 2nd. Yes.
Okay, so, got it. Yes, thanks.
Awesome. Okie dokie. Beautiful. Then let's find a comfortable.
So shall we do for the next 2 weeks just like to know how much are we in each guna.
You
Look
could do
like
that.
the percentage between dryness and oiliness in one's body. Yeah,
You could do
that's
that.
the thing.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good idea.
Yeah,
So
just
first,
to work on it, to balance it later. Yeah.
not balancing it. No need. Just
No.
knowing. First, just knowing. But it's a good idea to not only observe what is happening in your life, which gunas you can find in your life, but also where you find yourself more. You can do that. It would be a good idea actually to make like a little point on each side where you find yourself more mentally and physically. Yeah? Learn to identify your predominant gunas. Yeah, very good idea. Let's do that. Awesome. Then let's find a comfortable seated position. Close your eyes. Exhale through the mouth. Inhaling long. Exhaling deep. Breathing deeply into the body. Exhaling through the mouth. Become aware of the cushion below your seat. Be aware of your body sinking into the seat. Feel the weight of your body. Relaxing your forehead. And bring your hands together in front of your chest. Wrap your palms very strong. Scoop them over your eyes. Absorb the heat. Really relax your eyes. And then start blinking and winking. And look into your palms. Gently remove your palms. Have a look here. And bring down your hands again. Thank you so much for sharing your super precious time with me today. And I wish you a really beautiful 2 weeks. And yeah, I see you in 2 weeks.